Welcome to Heartland Dual Sport. In today's video we're going to be continuing on our trip to Michigan. Before I get into the video, I do need to apologize. I made a mistake in last week's video. I don't know if you watched last week's, but last week's, at the beginning of the video, I cracked myself up so much and I just went ahead and left it in because I thought it was funny. But I actually said the wrong name on the campground. And realistically what happened was I got my days off. Today, day 3, I roll up on this campground and it's the one where I actually didn't even stop. I just kept on rolling. It was like, this is not a place for me. I'm not camping here. And I left, went kind of back to a town, got on the Garmin GPS. I found another state park that I had overlooked when I was mapping my trip. And that, I'll brag on the little Garmin GPS real quick, and I'm not trying to say you want to know that they didn't give it to me. I paid for it with my own money. It's just a handy tool to have on these adventure trips. But I went into the state park search area and I found a park called Chain of Lakes Park, and that's where we went and camped. So that's where we're headed today. So let's get to the video. Again, thanks for tuning in to Heartland Dual Sport. Today's video, we're going to be discussing a few of the questions that have come up along the way. While you're watching in the background, we're going to be making our way to this Chain of Lakes State Park, which is actually a beautiful area, great place to stay. One thing I will say, if you've never traveled up through this part of the country, it's absolutely beautiful. When I initially got to that Chain of the Lakes State Park, I was thinking to myself, they've really got a lot of cornfields around here. And I didn't realize the vast amount of farming area there was. There's lots of cornfields, there's lots of green beans fields, and it was just a really cool place. One of the places where I stopped to fuel at, a lady asked me where I was headed, and I told her I was headed up to Lake Michigan. I said, I've never seen it. I want to put my feet in one of the Great Lakes. She visited with me for probably 30 minutes. Again, I gave her one of my Heartland Dual Sport stickers. I hope that she's watching and maybe even picks up on this while we're talking about her. She was just a really friendly lady, and she's never been to the Great Lakes. She lives very close to that area where I was headed, and she's grown up there her entire life and never has ventured out to go see them. And I just think that that's one thing that I really truly enjoy about this KLR 650 specifically, is it's a cheap adventure bike to begin with. You can get into one affordably. And if you guys have already watched our other video, we talked and we did a breakdown of what it costs to actually go to the East Coast and back, and it's very nominal in comparison to some major vacations that you might go on. Another question that somebody else had brought up was, what about taking your wife? My wife has some spinal issues and she couldn't make a trip like that, but we do have plans in the future to where she could be what I'm going to refer to as a chase vehicle, and she could follow along in the Jeep and maybe even bring the trailer, and who knows, we may end up adding a little camper to the mix too. That's something that we've kind of got in the back of our mind, but we haven't done it yet. If you've recently watched our video about the basic tools for the KLR, we had several comments on that, and I would like to real quickly answer some of them. Lee actually commented and said, don't forget to take the baby powder. And this little tube here, and I don't know, I'll try to, that's what's in it. There's one of these in that red canvas bag that was folded up, and that canvas bag is basically a place to lay out your wheel and tire. It comes from a guy whose website is cyclepumps.com. He was very generous to me and helped me get set up when I was new to this, and I really like his products. He does a great job. No, he didn't give them to me. I'm just telling you, he was very helpful and helped me. One of the other things that he also sells is called bead goop, and I'm not going to say that it's any different than Dawn liquid soap. I can't say for certain what it is. He calls it bead goop. So Lee, yes sir, that is in the bag. We did use all the powder that I took along with all the bead goop that I took to Michigan, because we did a total of either 3 or 4 tire changes. One of the other comments on that same video came from David, and David runs the YouTube channel Tankerman, and his comment was he always puts a first aid kit in with his tools. I went on to explain to him, and I answered that in the video, that I put my first aid kit is typically in my top bag, and it's also easy to get to. If you guys can look behind me, and I don't know if you can see this bag in the camera or not, but right here on the back of my Moscow Moto bag is a first aid kit. This first aid kit here is more for trauma, and I've got it on there on purpose. You can see the Red Cross. If something bad happened to me and I was involved in a bad crash, and maybe even to the point of unconscious, that's a big trauma kit. It's right there on the back of the bike, and hopefully anybody that would stop and try to help me would see that Red Cross on there and know that it's a trauma kit. It's got blood clot in it, it's got big scissors, it's got a tourniquet, it's got any of your major trauma type stuff that you might need in a bad crash. Hopefully we never need it, but it is there. And like I say, even if whoever shows up is not a first responder, if they've got any kind of willingness to help at all, they should see that Red Cross. So that's on the back of the bike, and I'll leave it there. Second, when I went to the East Coast, we kind of did a video about that earlier, but this is the first aid kit that I carried out there and back. I've condensed all of that down because it's just too much to carry. It's just way too much to carry to this. This is my little first aid kit now, and it came from REI, and it's basically just a backpacker's type little first aid kit. You got a few meds in here, you got a few towelettes in here, a few little band-aids, some tiny scissors and stuff like that for basic cuts, abrasions, and any kind of little nonsense. Along with that is a little whistle. I don't know if any of you guys have ever thought about it, but it may come in handy. Again, I hope I don't ever need the whistle, or for that matter, any of the band-aids. So that kind of wraps up a few of the questions that we've been recently asked on our YouTube channel. Again, guys, we truly appreciate all of your comments and your support. Another mistake that I made in last week's video is I didn't have a quote of the day. And if you remember, my wife makes up a lot of them. She's out of town right now. By the time this video airs, she will be home. I'm going to pick her up in roughly 10 hours at the airport, and I'm looking forward to her coming home. She's been gone for a little over a week, and we're excited that she's coming back. So again, sorry for the quote of the day. We're probably not going to have a quote of the day in today's video either, but I do like to point out my mistakes when I make them. Okay guys, so briefly what I'm going to be doing is we're going to go over a few of the tips and tricks for moto camping when you're out on these long road adventures. And an item that I think is most commonly overlooked is treating your tent. It's just like your bike maintenance, preventative maintenance on your bike. You change the oil, you lube your chain, you check your tires and all that kind of stuff. A lot of us forget to actually check out our tent. We're coming up into the fall weather, fall season, which is a perfect time to go camping. If you guys are like me, a lot of times you'll notice in most of my camping pictures that we've done all year, it either rained when I was setting up camp, or it was raining when I got ready to leave camp, or it rained during the night and cooled it off. So I mean, I was blessed with a lot of cool air coming in from the different rainstorms. As we get into the fall, even if you go camping on a weekend that's not forecasted to be raining, there's a good chance that you're going to wake up with heavy dew on your tent. And that's where I want to talk about Camp Dry. Kiwi makes a product called Camp Dry, and that is one of the things that we did again before we left on our trip to Michigan. As I got the tent out, packing your tent up wet, putting it up wet, letting it dry out, it will break down some of the water repellent properties that your tent came with from the factory. So where this Camp Dry comes in is it kind of helps put another little silicone layer on your outer shell of your tent. One can will treat that two-man tent that I'm sleeping in right now. If you want to do the inside, or maybe even the bathtub area, or the footprint of your tent, the inside or the bottom, go ahead and buy 2 cans. But you can safely do the entire outer shell with 1 can, spray it all down. And then that's going to bring me up to another point. The one thing that you guys have, and we had another comment, it was just the other day we had another comment about bugs and bug spray. He was on an adventure trip, went out camping, went out walking around, exploring, and went on some of the nature trails, And when he got home, he was covered with the little red bugs that bite you and get underneath your skin, and it itches for 2 weeks. And I explained to him that Sawyer's is what we use. So again, back to the tent, you can go ahead and spray this camp dry on your tent, get your tent prepped up, and while you're doing it, go ahead and spray it with Sawyer's. That will eliminate your bugs, spiders, your creepy crawlies and stuff like that. They're not going to want in your tent if it's been treated with that. That brings up another mistake that I made. I'm religiously spraying my boots and everything, all my hunting gear, and I even wash my clothes in the Sawyer's. It's scent free and it keeps you safe from little creepy crawlies that could give you problems like Rocky Mountain spotted fever, stuff like that. My dad's had it a couple of times, Angie's had it a couple of times. I don't want it. It looks awful when I mean, it makes you deathly ill, and rightfully so. It's just something that I don't want to experience. However, I'd never thought about treating my climb gear with it. And when I was on my way home from Michigan, that last day that I was riding, by the time I got on the interstate, something bit me in the right leg. And it bit me several times before it got up to a spot where I could actually squeeze it with my hand. And I don't know if I broke its stinger off, broke its mouth off. It quit biting me. I never seen what kind of bug it was, but from now on I will be treating all of my riding gear, including my climb gear and that stuff, with the Sawyer's as well, because it's something I truly believe in. And there's a lot of spiders out here in this world. There's a lot of things that want to get us. So if we can get them before they get us, I'm good with that. Again, guys, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. If you found any value in this content at all, please give us a thumbs up. If we totally bombed this video and you've got nothing out of it, give us the thumbs down so we at least know where we need to work to try to improve to bring you guys better videos. As you can tell, it's East Texas. We're not into fall yet, and I'm sweating like crazy already. I try to get out here and do these videos early in the morning, but I had chores to do this morning because I'm packing up and getting ready for another trip. Again, guys, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. May you have a blessed week, and let's go ride.